Hi everybody. We are going to continue and finish up the lesson that we started on Wednesday, which is 11.2, I believe. I think it's 11, maybe it's 11.3. I actually kind of forget. But we're going to continue. I think it's 11.2. So our objective is once again to be able to divide polynomials. Actually, let's just go back just to make sure what it is. 11.3 it is. Okay, so 11.3. Our objective is once again to be able to divide polynomials. All right, so problem 3. We got 2 problems to go through today, and then you'll get your homework. So the width W of a rectangle. So the width is 3z minus 1. The area A of the rectangle is 18z cubed minus 8z plus 2. Says, what's the expression for the length of the rectangle? Well, first we need to kind of realize or remember what the formula is for the area of a rectangle. We should remember that area is equal to length times width. Okay. We got a rectangle here, and it does say that the area is 18z cubed minus 8z plus 2. That's the area. And it says the width is 3z minus 1. And we want to know what the length is. Well, to find the length, okay, it gives us our area, it gives us our width. To find the length then, we just need to divide by the width. Take the area divided by the width. So we're going to do 18z cubed minus 8z plus 2, and we're going to take that divided by 3z minus 1. Okay, so now one thing we need to do, so we should, maybe you notice we've got 18z cubed minus 8z. Now you might notice that we are missing a z squared term. Now we don't just leave it out when we're dividing. Okay, we can't just leave it out. We actually have to include it. But what we're going to do is we're going to put it with a coefficient of 0. Okay, there is no z squared term in this problem, so that's why we're going to just include it with a coefficient of 0. So we're going to write the z squared term right after z cubed, but we're just going to write it 0z squared. Okay, now we've got cubed here, squared here, and then to the first power here. And now we're going to divide it just like we did the other day. Okay, so let me erase these marks. Okay, we need to first recognize, we're going to look at the 3z here and see how many times it goes into 18, z cubed. So 3 goes into 18 6 times. Z goes into z cubed, z squared times. Right? So z 16 times 3 is 18. Z squared times z is z cubed. Okay? Now we need to do the same thing. We did that. Now we need to do this. 6z squared minus 1 is minus 6z squared. And now we're going to subtract these. These cancel out. 0z squared minus negative 6z squared is a positive 6z squared. And now we're going to drop this down. So we have minus 8z. And now we want to see how many times 3z goes into 6z squared. Well, that goes in, 3 goes into 6, a positive 2 times. Z goes into z squared, z times. And now we're going to take the 2z times 3z. So 2 times 3 is 6. Z times z is z squared. And now we're going to do 2z times negative 1, and that's negative 2z. Now we'll subtract. These cancel out. Negative 8z minus negative 2z, okay, is negative 6z plus 2. 3z goes into negative 6z, so 3 goes into negative 6, negative 2 times, and then z goes into z 1 time, right? So then we're just going to multiply this again. Negative 2 times 3z, negative 6z. And negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2, which gives us a remainder of 0. Okay? So again, what you're going to do is you're just going to go bit by bit, just like we do with long division. You're going to see how many times this goes into this, then see how many times this goes into this, then see how many times this goes into that. Okay. So the length of the rectangle then is 6z squared plus 2z minus 2. Okay. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and pause the video, see if you can do these two on your own, and then once you're done with them, unpause it, and I'll show you how to do both of them. All right, so hopefully you took the time to do these. Let's go ahead and go through each of these. Remember, since this is q to the fourth, and then we've got q squared, we need to insert q to the third, 0q to the third before we divide. So this is going to be q to the fourth plus 0q to the third plus q squared plus q minus 3. And then we're going to divide by q minus 1. All right, first thing we want to do is we're going to see how many times q goes into q to the fourth, and that's q to the third power. So q to the third power, we're going to multiply, distribute these to both. So q to the third times q is q to the fourth. Q to the third times -1 is minus q to the third. These cancel out when we subtract. This is going to become a positive q to the third then. Drop this down. This becomes q to the third plus q squared. Okay. And then q goes into q to the third, q to squared times. Okay, multiply these out. We get q cubed minus q squared. We're going to subtract these. Q squared minus negative q squared is 2q squareds. Okay, I actually need to find some extra room somewhere. So we've got, I'm running out of room on my screen, 2q squared plus 9. Okay, q goes into 2q squared. This is going to be 2q times. 2q times q is 2q squared, and then 2q times -1 is negative 2q. Now we'll subtract these. Q minus negative 2q is positive 3q, and then we're going to drop this down there, so it's going to be minus 3. And then we want to see last how many times q goes into 3q, and that is a positive 3. 3 times q is 3q. 3 times -1 is -3, and then these eliminate. So we're left with this right here. Okay? All right. I'm actually going to skip part B just to save us some time in this video. Okay? But to give you the answer to B, I'm not going to go through all the steps. The answer, though, is let me write this. So the answer is h squared minus 3h plus 5. And then we have a remainder. We're going to have minus 3 over h plus 3. Remember, when you have a remainder, you put it over this thing that you're dividing by. So this should be your answer for part B. Okay? All right, last problem. Reordering terms and dividing polynomials. So to divide polynomials using long division, you must write the divisor and the dividend in standard form before you divide. So this says, what is negative 10x minus 1 plus 4x squared divided by negative 3 plus 2x. Now, if you guys remember standard form, that's when you have the variables with the highest degrees written first and then going in descending order. So with this one, we want the 4x squared to be first, then we want the negative 10x next, and the last, the minus 1 at the end. Okay, and then the division, we want this 2x first, and then the minus 3 second. Okay. Going through this, then we're going to divide. Now that we have them in standard form, we can just divide them. So 2x goes into 4x squared. 2 goes into 4 2 times. X goes into x squared x times. Multiply these out. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. And then 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Subtract them. These two cancel out. Negative 10x minus negative 6x is negative 4x. Okay, and then you drop down this negative 1. 2x goes into negative 4x, negative 2 times. So then negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. Negative 2 goes into negative 3, a positive 6 times. And then you subtract these out. These cancel out. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. So that's how you're left with negative 7 over 2x minus 3. Okay. So your answer then is going to be 2x minus 2 minus 7 over 2x minus 3, which is B. Okay? All right. So go ahead. I want you to go ahead and do both these then on your own. See how you do. I'll go over one of them with you, go through the steps, and I'll give you the answer to the other one also. But see how you do on these. Pause the video, and then I'll go through these with you in a second. All right, so hopefully you took the time to do this. Remember, when we are dividing, we want to put it in standard form first. So we're going to do 6y squared first, minus 10y minus 7, divided by 3y goes first, plus 4. Okay? Now, 3y goes into 6y squared. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Y goes into y squared, y times. 2y times 3y then is 6y squared. 2y goes into 4, or 2y times 4 is a positive 8y. We're going to subtract these cancel out. Negative 10y minus positive 8y is negative 18y. Drop this down, minus 7. 3y goes into 18y, or negative 18y, negative 6 times. Negative 6 times 3y then is negative 18y. Negative 6 times positive 4 is negative 24. Subtract these then. These cancel out. Negative 7 minus negative 24 is the same as negative 7 plus positive 24, which is 17. So we get a remainder. We get 2y minus 6, and then plus our remainder of 17 over 3y plus 4. This is the answer to part A. Okay. Part B then, I'm not going to go through every step of that, but for part B, the answer is 3a plus 1 minus 3 over 6a plus 5. Okay, so hopefully you got that for part B. If you have any questions over either of these, feel free to shoot me an email and ask. Or remember, today at 1 o'clock you do have the live Q&A session with me on Canvas, so feel free to swing by on Canvas at 1 o'clock and you can feel free to ask any question that you might have, and I'll be happy to answer. Now, one last thing before I give you your homework. This kind of just is a breakdown of the steps that you want to go through when you're dividing a polynomial by a polynomial. Might be a good idea to write these steps down in your notes. Okay, step 1, you want to arrange the terms of the dividend and divisor in standard form. You want to put them from the highest degree in descending order to the lowest degree first. Okay, if a term is missing from the dividend, add the term with a coefficient of 0. So like if you're missing an x squared in there in the middle, put the x squared in there but have a 0 coefficient. Step 2, divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. This is the first term of the quotient. Step 3, multiply the first term of the quotient by the whole divisor and place the product underneath the dividend, kind of like you just normally do in long division. Step 4, subtract the product from the dividend, and then step 5, bring down the next term. Repeating steps 2 through 5 as necessary until the degree of the remainder is less than the degree of the divisor. Okay. All right, your assignment then is on Math Excel. You can go ahead and begin working on that. This is due on Monday. Okay, so the 11.3 Math Excel homework. Again, today we do have the Q&A session 1 to 2 p.m. on Canvas. If you have any questions, feel free to come by there and ask them, and I'd be happy to answer them. Or if you just want to come by and say hi, you can do that also. All right. Hopefully I'll see you guys today. If not, I will talk to you guys on Monday. Bye.